Hey YouTube, in this video I'm addressing how often we should be training sprinters. So this one is a bit of a difficult question to answer purely because we're all different. So there is a minimum amount of training sessions, optimal training sessions that would usually be 3 days or every other day. So some people don't actually train 3 days a week. What they do instead is they train every other day. So they have their training sessions as blocks of 2 weeks. So essentially, in 2 weeks, they will have done 7 days of training instead of six. This is because they train every other day, but 3 days of training is fine, even two. But it depends on not so much the quantity of the days, but the quality done in the days. Because as long as you focus on quality, you can have as many or as little training sessions as you want, but you just need to make sure you have the right balance of quality and quantity in all of the training sessions. For example, if you used to train 6 or 7 days a week, then the quality would have to be extremely high and the quantity would have to be disgustingly low, very, very low. Because what's going to end up happening if you don't is your body's just going to break down you. For example, let's say you're doing 3 times 150s every single day, yeah? Your body just, it won't last. It won't last. It would break. It would break and it would happen very quickly. Most likely, you might get through the first week because that's not a crazy amount, though it is a lot. But the next week, you probably wouldn't get through. And if you was doing something absurd like 10, yeah, there's not a chance. You're probably going to get through 2 or 3 days before your body just shuts down and refuses to listen to you. So it's important that we focus on quality and we play around with quantity for how many days we train for. Our focus as sprinters should always be quality. It doesn't matter if you only train once a week. If the quality is absolute gold, then training once a week would be fine. The only reason why it wouldn't be optimal is because your body could slightly start to forget what it's already been doing, because you're not able to teach your body as much as you probably would want to how to do this thing, which is why we train for more days. But it's important that we also understand how the energy systems work and how long it takes for them to recover. It usually takes our central nervous system about 48 hours to recover from intense work, this including sprinting, which is why when you're told to do plyometrics, you're told not to do them every day, but every other day, because you want to give it at least 24 hours of rest. And saying you train at the same time as well, then it would be 48 hours, because if you train at 6, you're going to give it up to that time, then the next day, then back up to that time on the third day, where you've finally given your body 48 hours, is completely rested, is completely ready to go back at it again. And that's mainly because your tendons will get damaged quite easily, and it takes them much longer than the muscles do to build back up stronger. It takes them months, in fact, compared to muscles where it can happen days or weeks. So it's important that we understand why we have to be careful of how we train, because as sprinters, we do use our muscles, but we very quickly switch to our tendons if we're sprinting properly. And if we are still using our muscles, well, fine, yeah, you can sprint as much as you want, but you won't improve much, because you're not supposed to be sprinting with your muscles. You're supposed to be sprinting with your tendons. Your muscles are only supposed to be supporting your tendons in doing their work to help you propel you forwards. The only time you're actually using your muscles, like, that's the main focus as well, is at the start when you're first coming out of the blocks or you're first getting up to speed. That is it, in your drive phase. Once you come out of your drive phase, or you're close to coming out of your drive phase, everything should be in your tendons. So, and because our tendons are so brittle and easy to be broken, we need to make sure we balance how often we're training, and not just how often, but how long we are training when we do train. Because there's no point in doing 3-hour sessions every day if your body is going to be fatigued. Because I've said this before in many other videos, if you do like 60-meter repeats and you time yourself and you're getting 7 seconds, 7 seconds, 7 seconds, and then you say you're going to do 10, you get 3 7 seconds at the start, and maybe you get 7 seconds, 7 seconds, and 6 9 5, but after that you go back to 7. Then it goes to 7-1, then 7-7-1-1, then 7-1-3, and then 7-2, and it's starting to go up. Everything you're doing beyond maybe that 7-1 is just slowing you down. The 7-1 should only really be there because it's supposed to tell you that your body is just finished. It can't perform at its maximal anymore. So you're gonna have to give it rest. You're gonna have to just cut the workout short. And in fact, it shouldn't be you cutting the workout short. It should actually be the workout never being that long to begin with, because your body just gets what you give it and it defines the average. It gets the mean. It gets what you give it, and it divides it by the amount of work you do. And it says, okay, that's how fast I should be able to move on a just normal day with barely any effort, maybe no warm up, no warm up or barely any, even if I'm hungry, even if I'm cold, even if my muscles are cold, that being the main part. That's how my body should be able to perform. But if you're doing 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, and it's going up, you're gonna make that average go up. For example, if the average before could have just been 7 seconds, now it's gonna be like 7-2-1, and now everybody's like, oh, okay, on the average day I should be able to move this fast. And if you can already move that fast, you're not gonna get much faster. So it's pointless. But if you can't already move that fast, then that would be great. But if you can already do sevens, why would you settle for the 71? Because you're actually you're gonna improve, but you won't be improving as much as you think you are. It's just be bare minimum, which is why quality is the biggest factor here, because your body just only listens to quantity. It only listens to the quantity you tell it, and it looks at the quality of that quantity. And if the quality is poor because there's so much quantity, your body won't give you the results you want. It responds very, very well to high amounts of quality and very, very poorly to high amounts of quantity, unless you're doing more longer stuff. Like this would be if you're not a sprinter. You could get away with doing more quantity purely because you could just say you're training your aerobic base instead after a certain period of time, after doing a couple of repeats. But if you're a sprinter, you should only really be focused on speed, and not just speed, but your fastest speed, especially if this was a speed session. So just doing high amounts of quantity and hoping for good results will just be detrimental towards your performance. Because if your time for the 60 was like 7.5, and then you ran a 7.2, and then a 7.1, and then a 7.1, and a 7.7, and you went back up to like 7.3, something like that. Fine. That's fine. But just think about it. Like, you could have taught your body to run sevens instead for next season. Next season when you go to the indoors, compared to, or just for the 100 late on in the outdoors, or next season if the outdoor season is basically finished, compared to running 7.3s, because there's a big difference between a 7 and a 7.5. No, it's not just a 7 and a 7.3. For example, I'm doing maths, and if you was to run a 7-second 60-meter, and if you was to run a 7.3 second 60-meter, a 7.3 would give you 11.2 roughly for the 100 meter. Obviously it's not completely true, but that's the rough estimation you'd get. Maybe 0.1 or maybe 0.1 or 0.2 up. And then for a 7 flat, it'd roughly give you a 7 point sorry, not a 7, a 10.75 for the 100 meter. And that's a big difference. That's a difference of something like, what, at least like 0.5, like roughly 0.5 seconds. So you'll be able to cut off half a second just by making sure you focus on the quality in this scenario. And obviously if you're running 60 meters in 7.5, the chances of you being able to run a 60 meter at 7 seconds ever within the same season is extremely low. But just think of it on a more realistic basis, where it's like you're running 7.5, your PB is 7.5, but in training you're able to get like 7.45 was your best, and you're able to get that 3 times or 2 times, maybe just 1 time. Then after that you went to like 7.46, and then after that you just jump back to 7.5. Once you get to the 7.5, you're like, you already know I should be done. And then you can teach your body when roughly you start to just, you know, that the next rep it won't be as good, and then from there you could stop, so your body doesn't have to count that in its averages when it's counting how far, when it's trying to calculate how fast it should make you be for the rest of the current season or the next season. Though the next season you still got more time, but for the current season, extremely important, because the time of this video being released outdoors is basically going to be coming in like less than a month. So being able to, whilst you wouldn't be able to get the adaptation that fast, being able to teach your body to go faster could only benefit you, not hurt you. So make sure when you're training, you focus purely on quality. And this isn't just in the training sessions, this is just how your body responds as well. For example, if you had a really good training session on Monday, but Tuesday rolls around and you want to train on Tuesday, but your body just isn't feeling it, I'm not saying don't train, feel it out, see how your body responds. If it's actually more psychological, then see if you can fix that and then go for the training session. But if it's actually your body's just not responding right, you can barely control it how you're supposed to, then now this would be one of those times where it's like it's worth considering just taking that day off, and then you look again on Wednesday. So a good way to do this, it's actually really easy to determine how often you should be training, would be to actually do drills to see how your body responds. For example, I forgot the name of the drill. You can just do like normal skips. In fact, do normal skips and try and do them as fast as possible, and see how your body responds. If your body does that fast really easily, you're barely fatigued or you're not even fatigued at all, that's a good sign. That means your body's ready for the day. If that happens and it still don't go as fast or you don't feel as good, then that means there's probably something wrong here. Maybe you didn't warm up enough, or maybe your body's just still fatigued and you need to give it time. If it's still fatigued, that's fine. If it's not warmed up enough, that's fine. Because now you by that point you should know whether you need to go back to warming up again or you need to just take the day off. But understanding that your body only really responds to quality, and it hears the quantity and it just calculates for the quality from the quantity you do, will just make you much faster and will be able to help you understand how often you should be training. Because at the end of the day, most likely you shouldn't be training as much as you think you should. Most elite sprinters don't train as much as most people think they do as well. They do train a lot, but most of it is actually on their weaknesses, as it should be, and it's not always extremely hard sessions. It's more just getting out there, making sure their body still remembers how to sprint extremely fast, their form is still down and everything. So you don't have to worry about doing a lot of work, because a lot of work in this field, a lot of work doesn't get you faster. A lot of focus work does, and focus work is done at a much smaller scale than a lot of work could ever be done at. So I'm talking like you're only doing like 3 days of work in anything. This is like going to the gym, doing plyos, actually sprinting. Maybe just 3 days of work. You can do more, but it's more like if you do more, like for example, you do training on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday, if you take Sunday as a rest day, would literally just be you doing like some light stuff, maybe drills relatively slowly, maybe just focusing on your form a bit, but you're not going to be out there for long. For example, if you're training on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, your main days for like 2 hours, then on your other days, the days straight afterwards, it might just be like an hour or 30 minutes, maybe even just 10 minutes. It's not a lot. It's most of the stuff you do, you probably wouldn't even need to go onto the track for it. It should really be that easy. If you like my video, like the video, let me know in the comment section below. Check the description, because anything I forget to say in the video, I always put in the description. And if you like my content, subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. I post every 2 days at 1 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. If you don't know when that is, just hit the bell and then you'll be notified instantly.